What's up, everyone? It's Tyler here from House of Cards TCG, and today we're going to do a different video. As you know, Shady and I play in a lot of in real life tournaments as well as online dueling book. So, what I wanted to do today was make a video using 5 decks. I'm going to do a separate video with more decks probably if this goes well. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the hand traps that you should be playing against these decks. So I have picked out 5 decks that I want to talk about today that are pretty relevant in the meta that you're going to be facing a lot in tournaments. And so I want to talk about like whether you should be playing different hand traps against them and different things like that, and what works and what doesn't. This is from my personal experience of what I've seen out there, and yeah, let's just dive in. So we're gonna go with the first one. I think is pretty good, which is gonna be Prank Kids. So Prank Kids, of course, as you know, is getting really popular again because of the Brave engine that's come out, Venture engine, which is insane. By the way, if you haven't seen or played against the Brave engine, the Venture engine, it just keeps punching you in the face and over and over and over. It just keeps punching. So let's talk about a little bit about the Prank Kids. Lancia obviously doesn't do much against them, so that, you know, and I don't even know why I have Ally. We can just probably skip a lot of these different. Contact C's obviously like really good against Prank Kids, but I don't want to like, it doesn't do much against other things, so it's kind of gonna put it down here as don't do it. Only reason is not saying that it's not good, okay? Because it doesn't really have relevance in today's meta. So you're not just going to side just to face Prank Kids. It's not that popular where you're going to expect a lot of it. So obviously that's why we're going to put it down. We're just going to focus on the main hand traps, okay? So obviously Valor doesn't really do much because their effects all happen in Grave, which makes obviously Skullmeister really good. Skullmeister's insane. It's pretty relevant. Imperm can be good. It does need a mate though, but Imperm can be good. If you could just straight Imperm the Battle Butter, you're doing pretty good. The only problem with that is they always have the recursion, right? So the recursion is like insane, and that's why D-Shifter is like a GG against them. Obviously, not every deck can play D-Shifter, but you know, a different recurrence that you could do is Crow. Crow can hurt. Crow can hurt. I'm not gonna lie. If you can Crow out the Meow Meow, or if you can Crow out just anything that recurs. I think Doodle may even target. So if Doodle targets and you could pop one of them, that's pretty good. You might have to quote me on that. Nib is pretty good against them. They definitely summon 5 times, but here's the problem is that now they have the Brave engine, so you need to be aware of that because Nib does need a mate as well. Like Imperm Nib can be good. That's if they open up with the Adventure engine. So the Adventure engine kind of prevents Nib from being able to get dropped on them. So you need to be able to kind of probably have something else like I need a mate. Maybe it depends. It depends on how they open. Token Collector. I mean, Token Collector's okay if they open up with the Brave engine, but the whole point of the Brave engine with Prank Kids is literally just to chain block you so that you can't stop the Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is crushing, but Ash Blossom is actually not that good if they open up with the Brave engine because they're going to chain block you. And how they chain block you is they'll summon out a Prank Kid, they'll have the Fateful Adventurer out, so then they'll link off, go into, you know, whatever, Meow or whatever. They'll go Chainlink 1 the Prank in Grave, Chainlink 2 Adventurer to search, because when a monster is summoned, you get to chain that. Or they will be able to chain, like, just different things. So, like, you need to be aware of that because Ash isn't going to stop them if they have the Brave engine rolling. Phantasme, again, I don't know why this is in here. It needs a mate. Like, you got to be able to see something off that. Let's hit something that's more impactful, which is, of course, the Bell. Bells up here can hurt. The reason why these 3 are here, because Skullmeister, obviously, a lot of their effects happen in Grave. So, like, Skullmeister is obviously impactful, but it needs, like, something else to actually go in and pop it. The Crow is really good if you can Crow away, like I said, one of their links, and then you have your Bell. And the reason why Bell is good because basically the only thing that it hits is it hits the Roxy, because Roxy banishes and it's not cost to banish. So if you can hit the Roxy, that actually stops. And same thing with like Ash or any of that. If you can stop Roxy from the banish, then they don't get the draw on the summons. So that's something to note. Bell on Roxy is really good, as well as Doodle and the Doodle and Bow Wow both summon from Grave, so that's something important. So Bell is actually really good. Again, Ash has to be there. Ogre doesn't really do much. It needs a mate. Like, you can hit the Faithful Adventure, but by that time they've already chain blocked you, so you got to have something else to really pair with that. Gamma's always going to be good, but their effects happen in Grave, so like it doesn't really do much because you're not like Gamma's almost a waste because you're not preventing them like getting something off the field. I guess you could Battle Butler hit that, but at that point they're not going to activate Battle Butler if you don't have monsters on your field. So then they're not really going to be activating it, so you don't have a chance to Gamma it. So I would even put Gamma down here. Don't do it, but it could stop you from getting hand trapped. They do play a heavy line of hand traps, so Gamma can be impactful against that. And Droll's really good. I mean, Droll definitely is crushing against them because they do a lot of searching, and with the Brave Engine actually makes it more acceptable. So I would even put it up there at GG's because it just stops them. I mean, it's like right here at crushing. So this is kind of the lineup that you want to see against your prank kids. Now let's move on to maybe a little bit something else. Let's go with Sorcer here. So let's reset this. Let's focus on the more impactful hand traps. So Lancia against Sorcer is like crushing. It's insane. But here's the thing. I've seen Shane. Shane is very big into Sorcer. He still plays one Lancia. So you need to be aware that, or not one Lancia. He plays one Pot of Desires. So they're still playing Desires. So shotgunning the Lancia is pretty good. They don't play Gamma most of the time. It can really stop their plays and everything. So Lancia against Sorcer is pretty crushing. It stops their whole Tenyis. I mean, their Tenyis is what's insane. The Adhara adds back a banish. The Ashuna special summons from deck. The Vishuda bounces. So like Lancia stopping that engine is actually very impactful. But here's the thing. If they open up with a Sorcer monster and a worm in the hand, they're still going to end on the typical blackout with Baron and Grandmaster. So you need to be aware of that because they're still going to be able to plus and get hand traps off of that. Ash Blossom, it needs a mate. Ash is just not enough. What are you going to Ash? You're going to Ash the Moyi draw? Like, what are you going to Ash the Emergence? I don't know. Like, they still play, so it definitely needs a mate. The best thing that you could do is if you don't have Lancia, you can hold Ash for the Ashuna. I think that's a really good spot to hit them with the Ash. Other than that, I mean, you could hit the Emergence. You could hit a Vessel. I mean, the whole deck is acceptable to Ash, but Ash does not stop the deck. Crow, I think Crow's decent. It doesn't really do much, but if you're worried about a Vishuda, you could Crow the Vishuda, but the problem is they're just going to recycle another Vishuda, and you got to deal with it anyway. So, like, Vishuda or Crow on what? Like, I don't know what you're going to hit with the Crow because they'll just get to whatever else they need because Ashuna and Ahara all recycle it back to their hand, and then they just keep playing and keep playing and keep playing. So, I feel like Crow is a pretty bad card against Sword Soul. Let's go D-Shifter. D-Shifter is pretty GG's. Like, it's going to be against everything. Let's go with Droll. I feel like Droll is very crushing against them. And this is my personal opinion. They go Emergence, and then they add. Now they don't get the Grandmaster or Moyi. If they go with the Pot of Desires first, again, it's all those things that you've shut down. So they may still make a Baron, but you've stopped them, prevented them from getting to Blackout. You may have prevented them from getting into the Baron if they don't have the Long U1 already, because Droll is very impactful like that. And then you can stop the Moyi draw, which also obviously pluses. You can stop a lot of different things in this deck that allow them to plus. I mean, even the Vessel, it stops the Vessel because it sends, but then if you have a Sinker, you can add one to hand, so they just get to send, like, and that's it. So it stops Vessel, it stops Emergence, it stops Desires on the back end, it stops the Moyi Synchro, which is the add, it stops the Grandmaster add. So Droll, I think, is very, very good against Sword Soul. It's something that you should definitely be playing. Effect Veiler, I mean, what are you going to hit? Like, don't do it. It's just not, like, I don't know what you're going to hit. The only thing that you can hit is a Grandmaster. Literally, that's it. Gamma hurts them. Like, if you can Moyi, get it off the field, that's really good because it stops the token from coming out. It's not crushing, but, like, it hurts. So Gamma is, like, pretty impactful against Sword. So it's just a matter of when you want to use it, when you think is the correct way to use it. Keep in mind that Moyi reveals for cost, and then if they normal summon Tai-Yi, it's because they don't have a Moyi. So just keep that in mind. It's something that you need to know. Tai-Yi, if they use Tai-Yi effect, then normal summon Tai-Yi, pop that immediately. I guess I'll move the Veiler up to needs a mate. Veiler's decent, right? Because then you can hit Moyi, you can hit Tai-Yi, but the Tenyis are just insane. Like, and then also the Effect Veiler is a light, and they usually can get out Chao Feng on you, and that's going to stop a Veiler from coming out. So I'm going to put needs a mate. And that's going to go as well for Imperm. We're going to call this like Veiler Imperm is basically what that's going to be. Skullmeister, don't do it. It's just not good. Like, I guess that you could, though, because I guess it stops effects in Grave, which would be like a Vishuda. So I guess I'll say it needs a mate. It's not terrible. Token Collector, though, is crushing. Like, Token Collector is definitely really good, especially because it doesn't affect Chao Feng. So this is definitely something. And the reason why these are down here is because these are what I'd rather be playing over here. There's the Imperm. I'll put that at needs a mate. Nib is pretty impactful if you can get it off. The problem is that when do you get it off, right? Because a lot of time they'll get Chao Feng out on you, or they'll get the Baron out on you on summon 5. So you definitely want to pair Nib with Imperm or something like that, then you can crush their board. But I'll put Nib down here at Hurts, because a lot of times they're still going to have their full Tenyi engine rolling, and they still plussed on the Mo Yi draw, the Grandmaster Search. So, like, Nib is Hurts. Like, that's it. That's where I'll put it at. Ghost Bell, let me think about Ghost Bell, I guess, because everything banishes for cost, so you can't affect that. We'll just say don't do it here. You just don't want to play it. Ghost Ogre, it needs a mate, like, I guess. It hurts. Like, the problem is that you can leave him with a token. So, like, if you Ghost Ogre the Mo Yi, or if you Ghost Ogre anything, like, the Tenyi does nothing. You could Ghost Ogre the Vishuda and stop the Link from coming out, or the Ashuna, the Adhara, you can stop the Link from coming out, but, like, I don't really know what Ghost Ogre. I'm going to put Ghost Ogre over down and needs a mate, because I just don't think it's that impactful. So if you want to play Sword Soul, here's the cards that I would recommend. Again, same thing as, like, Prank Kids. Droll is really good. So that's something that pranks match with that. Lancia is obviously good in Token Collector. So that's what I would be playing against Sword Soul. So let's go ahead and reset. Let's see what we got up next here. We're going to move on to, let's see, PK. I think everybody should be aware now that PK is actually insane. It does brick heavy, though, and you need to be aware of that. You need to be able to recognize and notice if the deck bricks, because it's something important that you should pick up on. Because when it bricks, you need to be aware, because it's going to change how you use your hand traps based on what they do. Like, for example, if you see them drop normal summon the Water Enchantress and then special summon out a Wielder, it's a good chance that they bricked if they're bringing that out. Or if they don't bring out the right, you know that they don't have it, so then they're going to Cherubini send it. So there's a lot of things that you could pick up on with this deck. But starting off with Lancia is, like, insanely crushing, and so is Droll against this deck. Those are two very impactful hand traps, because though Droll is going to be able to, because Water Enchantress searches right, and then you immediately hit him with Droll. Griffin doesn't come out. They can't search their Cloak, which adds to hand. They can't use their Boots to add to hand. There's so much that Droll hits on this deck now with the Brave Engine, so you need to be aware that Droll is actually insanely impactful against the PK. Lancia, also insane. Yesterday, I won locals against a PK Brave player because I Lancia twice, like back-to-back Lancias, even though I Lancia'd him on his turn. He didn't get anything out. Then he Lancia'd me playing VW on my turn, stopped me. But then I Lancia'd him again, stopped him for a second time, and I was able to swing back on the OTK. So it was really good. Ash needs a mate. Ash is like, what are you going to hit here? You can hit the Water Enchantress. That's your best bet, honestly. You could hit it on Rusty. That's okay. We're going to go with Imperm. Imperm hurts, and Veiler hurts them, but a lot of time they have Griffin out. But the best thing that you could Imperm or this is, like, Griffin if you have another hand trap, or you could hit Rusty with this. Rusty's really good for Imperm and Veiler, because it stops the send and set, as well as stops the pop if they go for the break sword. So those are two things that you need to be aware of, that these two are pretty they're hurt if you can hit Rusty. Gamma can be crushing against this deck. If they brick and then they go, let's just say, for example, they go to Rusty and they've used their resources to go into Rusty, and you, like, Gamma Rusty, you can shut them down for real. Like, they probably have their, like, it negates it, and then they have to have follow-up, and a lot of times they've used their resources to go into Rusty. So this can actually be crushing, especially paired with something that you can hit with the Griffin. Like, a Nib can be crushing as well, especially if you have something to stop Griffin, or if they don't open it up and you're leaving them with traps. So those are two things, but you got to be aware with Nib that they will have Griffin. They must, not all the time, but sometimes they will have Griffin. If they don't open up the Fusion Destiny, then they go Anaconda, you just drop Nib right there. Don't even let the Fusion Destiny happen. You know what I mean? If they hard draw it, they hard draw it. So I guess that needs a mate, but Ash is pretty good against the Fusion Destiny as well. But again, that's the end of their play by the time they get there. Ghost Spell can hurt them if you Ghost Spell the Torn Scales or you Ghost Spell the Scythe or the Enforcer and stop it from coming back out. Like all that, like they do a lot of summoning from the grave. So Ghost Spell is pretty impactful against them. If you have flex spots and you're not sure what to play, Ghost Spell obviously does some damage against Prank Kids, and Ghost Spell also does some damage against the PK. Against the Sword Soul, it's okay. It's okay. Like I guess that's not that really good. But Ghost Spell's flex spot against PK is not bad. Token Collector. Here's what I'm going to say to you about Token Collector, okay? I don't think you should do it. If you could play one and you could Beatrice dump it, like, sure, that's fine. That's fine when you're playing PK because you're going to stop that from coming out. But the thing about Token Collector is you're going to want to play cards like Lancia, Droll, maybe even Nib. Like, stuff like this is what you're going to want to play against PK. Like, playing 3 Token Collector against PK, I do not think is correct when you could have these other cards in there against them, which are highly more impactful against them. So that's my take on Token Collector against PK. If you have flex spots, go for it. Ogre can hurt this deck if you hit the continuous spell, Faithful Adventurer, or you hit Rusty, stop it from, just get it off the field, or Cherubini. Ogre on Cherubini is actually an insane hit. So you activate effect, send for cost, you pop the Cherubini. There's no more Graph and Seer to bring it back out. So like, actually insane is if you can hit the Cherubini and then they don't have any more follow-up to get into Rusty. Kind of crazy. So Ogre is pretty decent here. And then, of course, Skullmeister hurts too because there's a lot of effects that activate Engrave. So it's just a matter of timing them correctly. Crow can hurt if you hit like Torn Scales, if you hit the Rusty out. Like they play one Rusty. If you can beat over Rusty, Crow it out, get it out. Same with Enforcer. Like if you can hit the Enforcer, get it out. It's obviously going to be impactful. But if I'm siding against PK, I'm playing these cards, especially because I don't want to get Scythe locked. Gamma's going to help me not get Scythe locked. Now they're doing this crazy combo where they're Lancia-ing you and Scythe locking you. It's actually insane. So these are what I'm playing against them. It's just unfortunate. Probably some back row, some different things like that. Obviously, GG's is Shifter. Like, if you could play Shifter, play Shifter. It's just going to stop turns. Just Grenmaju, Shifter, OTK. That's it, right? All right, let's dive in. Let's see. What's up next? We got 2 more decks to go up. And if you guys like this video, make sure to like and subscribe and let me know down below so that I can continue on and do more of these videos. If you want me to do more rogue decks, please let me know down below. I would love to do videos like this. I play a lot of rogue decks. I can tell you a lot of different decks, a lot of different hand traps that you can play against these decks. So if you enjoy this video, please let me know down below, comment, because then I'll continue to do these things because I enjoy them. All right, so we're going to talk about VW now, which is the deck I'm currently on. So I'm obviously very familiar. Lancia is crushing. If you could stop, a lot of VW, they might play 1 Desires now. So it's not really, but with Enchantress, there's 3 different variants of VW you need to know about. There's the Punk, Sword Soul, and then Pure. So or Brave too. So 4. In the Pure, they're playing Desires. You don't have to worry about it. In the Punk, you don't have to worry about dropping Lancia and Standby. In the Brave is the only one that you really have to worry about because of the Water Enchantress. So you just drop Lancia. It's going to stop Qinglong. It's going to stop Chuchi. It's going to stop a lot of their plays. I know it's pretty impactful against me, so I know it's really good. Droll is also very crushing. You Qinglong search Lulu most of the time, and then you get hit with Droll. You can't Lulu search. You can't then use your Faithful Adventurer to search, which is we need the equip spell and we need the Griffin. In the Pure, it's going to stop a lot of things like you can't Lulu search, which is going to continue your combo because it searches another piece that you need, as well as like the Pot of Desires is shut off. And then in the Punk, it stops you from getting to the different engine pieces that you need, like the traps and all that. So Droll is actually insanely crushing against this deck. VW, just like anything else, gets a hit with this. Don't do it. Effect Failure and Imperm are not good against it. Everything activates in hand, so it doesn't really have any impact here. Ash Blossom is decent. It can hurt if you Ash Blossom the Lulu and we don't have any extenders. Like that can definitely hurt. Or if you Ash Blossom our Qinglong and that was our search to get into our engine, it can actually be impactful. Something else is that you can actually Ash Kowloon and stop the trap from coming up on the thing. I found that the trap is so impactful, and a lot of decks have a problem dealing with Chuchi. So maybe even holding Ash and hitting the city so that I can't get Chuchi up is actually a really good play, because then it can stop me from Lulu targeting that to search another monster. Gamma can be crushing. Like if you Gamma my Lulu and I lose my Lulu and I can't normal summon it now, that can hurt. Like Gamma can be crushing against this deck, especially on the crackback too, because we usually put up Baron. So like that's something just to note. Token Collector, I mean, just don't do it. There's like better cards you can play, even if they're on the Brave engine. Like there's just, if you play one Beatrice dump it, sure, that's fine, but there's just better cards you could be playing against VW than Token Collector, and that's my personal opinion. Crow can hurt. Like it all depends on what you do. So Roshi doesn't target, you should note that. If you trigger the Nian, you can Crow the Nian, get it out of the grave, get it in, but then you plus on that being banished because you can shuffle something back. You could Crow the, like, I don't know, you could Crow Shinshin. Like, if you beat over my Shinshin. So, you know, I'm just going to put, like, don't do it. This is not that good, in my opinion, against VW. There's better cards, again, that you could be playing. Like, for example, Ghost Bell is really good. Ghost Bell actually can crush the deck, but we're going to put it at Hurts. The reason why, I think you should Ghost Bell Roshi. If you go Roshi effect, target, it special summons back. You just Ghost Bell it. Boom. You stop the level 6 tuner from coming onto the field, as well as bringing back something else. Like a lot of times that's going to shut down a Synchro from coming out. So it's insane what Ghost Spells can do. Skullmeister needs a mate. Like you can Ghost Spell, like you can Skullmeister some things that activate. Like I don't know, it's not that good. Ghost Ogre can hurt too. Ghost Ogre is pretty impactful if you hit the Faithful Adventurer, or if you hit like a Chuchi that can stop Chuchi from popping. So actually, Ghost Ogre is pretty impactful. Those are the two that I would hit: is the Chuchi, and I would hit the Faithful Adventurer. Chuchi mostly because it will stop. If I chain Chuchi and you chain Ghost Ogre, it gets popped, and then Chuchi won't pop because it's a continuous, and it has to be on field to resolve. So if you pop it before it can resolve, it actually won't pop a card on your field. Nib can be crushing, depends on when you use it, as well as we usually put up an Omni Negate now, or a Crystal Wing or something like that. So a lot of times we can stop this. You probably need a mate with it. That's going to be Nib in any deck right now. Any deck that you play Nib, you're going to want an Imperm Veiler on it. So it might not even be something that you want to play, but it actually is pretty impactful. So you still want to see it. Like if we don't get the Omni Negate out, it's going to hurt tremendously. So I think that's pretty much going to do it for the virtual world. As you can see, there's a common theme with these three cards and these three down here. These are pretty impactful against all the top decks right now. So something that to note, obviously, except Prank Kids, which there's not a ton of representation on Prank Kids, but those are those. So let's see. We got one more deck here. I think it's pretty interesting, actually. So let's bring it up here. DDDs. That's correct. I said DDDs. So that's my dog barking. I don't know why. So let's get into this last deck. That is DDDs. So I've been testing around with a little bit of DDDs, and I think that the deck is insane. Like the combos that you can pull off against it are crazy. So here's what I'm gonna say about DDDs. Lancia, it hurts because you can't use the Necro Slime and you can't use the Swirl Slime to then the Swirl Slime summons out, the Necro Slime then fusions. So it stops those from happening, which is pretty impactful. Ash Blossom, it hurts. It just depends on how their hand plays, and like you're not gonna know. Like if you stop the Dark Contract search, they may still have it. If you Ash the Servant, the Kepler, they may still have a Dark Contract. So like Ash is just dependent on their hand and when you could use it. Obviously, this is impactful. A lot of things happen in Grave, which makes Skullmeister really good against this deck because they do a lot of the Grave effects, which is like with the Marksman and with the different things. So this is pretty good. Droll is crushing against this deck, as I've learned, and so is Nib. It can completely shut them down. A lot of times, though, they do provide follow-up, so it's something to note. Token Collector does nothing against this deck. Crow, let me think about Crow real quick. I don't think Crow does anything against this deck now that I think. I guess you could hit the special summon back. Like if you could stop maybe them special summoning back the fusion, but there's, again, better cards that you could be playing. Veiler needs a mate and Imperm needs a mate on this one. Imperm can be good if you can turn off the new XYZ because that stops monster effects. And then Gamma is pretty crushing. Like if you can Gamma something, but then a lot of times they can plus too. So keep that in mind. We're going to move it down here to Hertz because if you Gamma like a Marksman and they go to burn you for 1,000, which is fine, you Gamma that. If you can pair up a Gamma with like hitting the XYZ before you have a monster on field, so then you can get that off the field. That's really good. But just keep in mind that the Gamma does stop the... Come here. Sorry, my dog has to bark. If you guys want to see him, come here. Come here. As I'm trying to make a video, this guy wants to bark, right? Let's finish this up. I apologize, but that's real life. So Gamma, maybe need a mate with Gamma, right? And last thing is the Ghost Spell, which summons back, which can be impactful. It can hurt them. It can stop their plays. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it. I apologize for my dog on this video, but hopefully the mic didn't pick it up. And that's going to be those meta decks. If you like this kind of content, let me know down below so that I can make more with maybe some more rogue decks. And let me know down below so you can appreciate it. And this has been Tyler with House of Cards TCG, signing out.